Good day everyone. Today I'll be working on a new tutorial video on how to animate Jiggle physics. Yeah, you heard me right. Jiggle physics. Now, why am I doing this? Honestly, I don't know. The idea just popped into my head. And for those of you who are having power-dead thoughts, that's your problem. That's not the reason why I'm doing this. But I realized that this is an aspect of animation that some people are really interested in and people do not utilize it to the fullest. So yeah, I'm going to be saying it with a straight face on how to animate Jiggle physics. Now, first of all, I'll be talking about how you're going to animate it from the front. So I want to switch on my mirror tool and I want to animate someone maybe jumping. And the first thing you do is just to draw the base image. And by Jiggle can mean anything. It doesn't necessarily have to mean what you have in mind, you dirty old person viewing this channel. But then, yeah, start with the base. I'm going to draw something rough. So we want to make sure that we get our keyframes right. Right now that I have my jumping animation, the rough, at least the rough, it's ready. I want to put the outlines for the jiggles, but then I just want to hold this rough jumping up a little bit. So I'll come here around frame 3, then I duplicate it by copying and pasting, and then I use my lasso tool to move the character up a little bit just to hold that position of jumping slightly high. Now let's play it back. Now you see, yeah, perfect. Now, depending on what kind of character you're drawing, whether it's a male or a female, the kind of accessories you're wearing, whether it's earrings, hair, or they're keeping a long band, the shirt and everything, I want to take into account the way those outfits are going to interact with the jumper. But today, I already said it's Jiggle physics and I know where your mind is. Yeah, I'm going to work on that. So, we create a separate layer, and this is where the understanding of physics and anatomy comes in. So for this first layer, let me label it as sketch layer, sketch, and then I want to reduce the opacity as usual. And now for this area is for the jiggles. So this is the jiggles, and yeah, let me just assume this character is putting on a earring, and we want that earring to jiggle. So this is the base form, standing, putting the earring. If the character goes on, you know that the force of gravity and then wind is acting on it, so this earring still stays down. Now she reaches the maximum, or let's say close to the maximum height. We still retain that earring at that position. Now once it comes down, this is where the earring takes the reverse direction. So you want the earring to go up slightly, and then when it comes down, maybe pull the earring up a little bit, and then she finally comes down, and then the earring also descends as the force reduces. So let me make an adjustment. And then finally, the earring returns back to its position. So when you know the location of these balls, that the hair, the balls of the earring, you can animate your jiggles better. Look at how it moves. Yeah, so it might be hard for you to track. Now let's use a bigger example and a better one that is easy to follow, which is the boobs. You come over here and let's give her something a little bit massive so that your eyes can track it. But you know what? Let's not even use the boobs. Let's just use a shirt. Yeah, let's say this is a guy, this is the shirt. So at base form is going up. So the same principle that applies as this character moves upward, the cloth is moving in the opposite direction, downwards, because of wind. The person is going up against the wind, so the wind is pushing the less resistant item downwards. So once you understand this principle, it's easy for you to make things actually jiggle. But the first thing is to get the framework of your character ready. So yes, this is the shirt. Resting position, slightly raised. And you might want to add a little bit of raise to the shirt here. Then it curls. The cloth is still laying on the body, moving against that force. Goes up again, moving against that force. Goes up again. Now she's going down. Now realize how the shirt takes a reverse. So you can see it popping up out here. Now we want to show more of that shirt being blown up as the wind takes it. Now this arm is blocking the shirt a little bit, so it's giving it a little bit of resistance. So maybe the shirt can lay on the arm if the hand is in front, or you might not really even dwell too much on that detail. But now that the hand is extended, you might want to give the shirt a little bit of lift, because now wind is blowing downwards. It's blowing from the downwards direction upwards, so it's acting on the light cloth. And so yeah, now I want to add that clothes do not jiggle. Actually, there's just a way it follows the way the wind acts upon it, and sometimes the wind lifts it, sometimes the wind pushes it back. And yeah, the shirt finally lays as the person also gets ready to make another leap. Now let's see what it looks like. You see, it looks nice, doesn't it? It looks interactive. So now that we are done with the basics, it's time for us to get into what most of you came here for, and that's to animate the jiggles. And when it comes to animating the jiggle physics of parts that you're interested in, you need to take into consideration the principle of squash and stretch. This is what makes jiggle slightly different from bounce. So you want to elongate whatever you are animating at some point, and you want to squash them at some point. Now she goes up. Now she's a she. Goes up. Now, because this part is slightly heavy, it's difficult for hair to act on it, so it has more air resistance. So you need a significant force to show the intensity of the bounce. So right here, you still retain everything at its normal position. And then when it comes down, yep, this is where you have your bounce. So you might want to separate the spaces between the two massive items she's carrying a little bit, but not totally. Then you want to move it a little bit upwards. This is something that people do not really notice that much in the animation, but they can feel it when it plays over. Maybe make it cover the face a little bit if you want something excessively massive, and then give it that little bit of push back down. Now let's see what it looks like. Maybe it jiggles a little bit. Now this jiggle is not as intense as you would want it to, so I'm going to work on it again and just see what it actually will look like. Now I think the reason why it's like this is because we weren't able to keep the chest region, how can I put it, consistent. There are parts where it looks bigger and parts where it looks smaller, so you want it to be sort of consistent by maybe increasing the size a little bit. Yep. So yeah, I think it's consistent now. maybe drag it down a little bit due to the force of gravity. Now this is basically you just following the squish and stretch principle of animation. I didn't go to animation school, so don't take my word for it, but I think I saw it somewhere on YouTube. And then there's the squish and stretch aspect of animation. Maybe you want to pull it down a bit so the difference isn't that jarring. Now let's play it back and see whether it holds up. Now you want to exaggerate that bounce a little bit more, make it much more obvious. And so maybe you can even have it, maybe just take this unrealistic position. And let's see what here. Now it's very obvious. So when you notice that the jiggles is not obvious enough, try and play with the extremes of the motion. The point where it's at its highest, maybe stretch it a little bit to the highest, and then the first part where it's at its lowest, stretch it to the lowest form. Now that we have our rough sketch done, we can go over this and then draw the female character, because this is the rough. So now I am done with doing the outlines of the characters, and this is what it looks like without shadows and colors. Now you can see that we have a very obvious bounce, and she's carrying big items at that region, and it's very obvious and very evident, and you want to incorporate this. Now you need to understand that the principle still remains the same with the way the earring was initially. It's likely a different principle from the way the shirt actually flows, because the shirt is a lighter material. So basically, this is just an elementary aspect of physics that can be observed by anyone. The heavier an item is, the less likely it is to bounce, and the lighter an item is, it's also less likely it is to bounce. But we realize that because of things like hair resistance, heavier items are much more resistant to hair, so they behave in a different way to a lighter item like the outfit. The outfit is blown upwards when she's coming downwards because of hair, and the chest region resists that wind a little more. And the only reason why it jiggles is because of that sudden impact it gets when she lands on the ground, causing it to feel that vibration and then to bounce back upwards a little bit. So that's basically what you need to know when you are talking about jiggle physics. Now another thing is that it does not necessarily obey the up and downward motion, although that's primarily what you notice when a character is moving against gravity or against air. But you can also add your own twist to it. Maybe make the chest region jiggle to the right a little bit or jiggle to the left. It's not actually a rigid principle, and life can be very unpredictable, but you just have to make sure it works within that constraint of physics. Although this is animation, so you can break physics a little bit. So I think that concludes our study for today on jiggle physics. This is the basic you need to know. If you are going to take anything away from this video, know that the first thing you have to do is to draw your basic movement. Like in this case, the basic movement is our jumping up and down. So once you have your primary or your basic movement done, then you go over it to put in your jiggle movement. Now, if you are good enough, you can do it both, or you can do it simultaneously at the same time. But if you are still a beginner, you want to make things easier for you, although a little much more time consuming, you want to animate it separately. Now, if you are new to this channel and you came here for other reasons, that's not what this channel is all about. The channel focuses solely on me putting out my work out there and occasionally making tutorial videos for those who are willing to learn animation. Also, whenever you are stuck on a tutorial video or an aspect that you are not getting, always draw back to nature, because God has given everything to us in abundance, and it's easy for you to draw references from what God has already created, and that's how you study and then maybe add your own unique spin to it. So thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day and God bless you.